at one point in the conversation said, man, it's like I'm just sitting at a stoplight and the light won't change. And I said, I do remember saying, man, I'm so sorry to hear that, but I'm going to have to call you back because that's a hell of a song idea. And I went and started writing that chorus immediately after.
This is A New Angle, and I'm your host, Justin Angle, marketing professor at the University of Montana. This podcast is my chance to speak with cool people doing awesome things in and around the great state of Montana. We are proudly underwritten by First Security Bank and Blackfoot. Hey folks, welcome back and thanks for tuning in. You know, 2 weeks ago we talked science, last week we talked art, and today we're talking music. We got some range here at the pod. John Pierce grew up in Billings, spent some time here at the University of Montana, and is now crushing it as a songwriter in Nashville. In the last several years, John has written hit songs for the likes of Zac Brown, Pardi and Reba McEntire. He recently visited the University of Montana to perform at the inaugural Grizzly Songwriters Showcase, produced by our entertainment management students. It was a super event, and we were lucky to grab a bit of John's time the morning after. In this conversation, we learned all about the business and process of songwriting, and some great wisdom that can generalize to other creative pursuits. Oh, and John brought along his guitar to the studio, so we expand our audio range a bit in this episode. I'm stoked for you to hear this one right now. Okay, so we're here today with John Pierce. John, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Good morning. Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're going to break some new ground on this episode. You are the twin brother of one of my closest friends here in Missoula. We went for a run this morning. So this is kind of you were getting the full meal deal, and we might actually talk you into playing some music by the end of this thing.
I think we can make that happen.
Very well. I'm staring at the guitar, and so I think it's probably likely we'll be able to talk you into that. So John, you're here for the Grizzly Songwriters Showcase, which was a couple nights ago. This episode will air a few weeks later.
Yeah.
But yeah, what made you say yes to this invitation?
It was kind of a no-brainer. Get to come back to Montana from Nashville and retrace some steps back here and help out a program that's doing some cool things. So
yeah, so
no-brainer.
You grew up in Billings.
I did.
And
Born
spent some
in Bozeman.
time here in Missoula, or
yeah. Born in Bozeman, lived in Missoula for a little while, then majoritively raised in Billings.
Okay.
And then went to school here. Was enrolled here.
Yeah. So that's
years.
sort of a bit of a fraught question. You know, I'm not going to ask you what year you graduated.
Right. Because there's no answer to that.
Correct. Yet our alumni association they have some rule, like if you complete 2 semesters, you know, they count you as an alumnus.
Is that right? I had no idea.
Yeah, because I think they like want to cultivate a relationship with folks like Jeff Ament, stuff like that.
Makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
Claim them as Grizzlies, which we're happy to claim you as a Grizzly. And I went to the Songwriter event the other night. It was fantastic. You shared the stage with some incredible writers and musicians, performers. It must have been a fun event to you.
It was really cool. And I had only met Costas before, so to kind of build relationships with the others was really cool. But it was a cool event.
Yeah. So Costas, does he live here in Montana?
He does. He lives in Belgrade.
Okay. Yeah, I thought he mentioned that.
Yeah, and he was sort of the reason, which I'm sure we'll get into, but the reason for a lot of things that have happened in my life.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah. I wanted to, because that's got to be really interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy story.
Okay, we'll get into that. So, you know, I'm a faculty member in the College of Business. The idea of a music career, as far as writing and performing, has never been anywhere near my radar screen. Yeah. Like, how does it happen? When did it occur to you that this was something you wanted to pursue as your life's work?
Yeah, more than something, it's almost like I lucked into it. Honestly, I didn't know making a living as a songwriter existed until my mid-20s.
Okay,
I knew it was a thing. I just always assumed artists wrote their own stuff. And
what did you study here?
I studied vocal performance and then business minor.
Okay.
So I guess I went to school. I went to college because I knew I wanted to further my studies, and I was really intrigued by music my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, well, there's a music program up there. I'll go see how that goes.
Yeah.
But through that, the education really came from playing open mics around Missoula.
Okay.
And sort of finding out, what people will listen to, watch a crowd react to what you're doing. And so I did play around Missoula there was a place called Maxwell's.
Sure.
Back in the day.
Yep.
And Iron Horse.
Yep.
But that was where the real education began, where you could see some pathways to monetize music.
Yeah, just kind of workshopping materials, seeing what will fill a room, keep a room engaged, bring people back.
Play some Hootie and the Blowfish covers back in the day,
Yeah, I suppose that's probably the right time. And so you kind of finished your time here at the university, and you spent some years as a fishing guide. Is that?
I did.
Yeah.
There was some of that.
I've watched this guy catch the same fish on 5 consecutive casts. So John knows a thing or two about fly fishing.
There was at the end of my experience here at the university, there was a program called the Vienna Experience where we went on exchange for a semester and sang over there as a choir.
Wow.
And then I had a buddy that played mandolin, and we would go busk on the streets. We figured out how
in Vienna.
In Vienna, you figured out how to get I think it was called a Platz card, which was sort of a here's your spot, here's your time,
like a license to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And we went down, and there's mimes and violin players, but you're spread out a couple of blocks, and we played cover music and made money.
Wow.
And that was one of the real we made a couple $100 one night, and spent it all on wine.
Sure.
But that was a realization where this could happen.
Yeah.
You can do something with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what did you do next? Like what?
Came back and sort of fell back into old ways of just came back to Missoula actually, and then needed work and started kind of falling into the fly fishing thing. Not as many people were doing it back in those days, and then ended up back in Billings and worked at a fly shop and was guiding on the side, doing some of that.
And still working your music, trying to do performance still.
Yeah,
though, right?
And to be honest, I always say like it's like your mom tells you you're good at music, and that's one thing. But until you kind of test it around, you don't know. So I don't think I was getting the feedback that it was going to be an occupation at that point. So I was kind of taking any job I could get, doing anything work-wise that I could get, which leads us to a move to Bozeman.
Yep.
Where I was still working any job I could get and also trying to guide as much as I could. And I met a guy named Costas, who's now inducted into the Songwriting Hall of Fame in Nashville, but at the time met him through a mutual friend and ended up on his patio with him playing songs with the guitar. And I ended up playing a song or two at this with 30 people on his patio. And he kind of said, "What are you doing here in Bozeman?
Yeah.
What are you doing?" And offered to help me.
Okay, so he saw some talent.
He did.
Like,
He saw something. Yeah. Saw something he liked, and then said, "Next time I'm down in Nashville, why don't you figure out how to get down here, and I'll introduce you to some people."
Yep.
So that, in the meantime, we had gotten together, and he'd kind of helped me with some of the rules of songwriting, and we wrote a couple of songs together.
Okay, so can you talk about those rules?
Absolutely.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's we could fill 3 hours with that, but
we can try. Go Joe Rogan style here.
Exactly. But he, there are some, for commercial country music, there are some rules. Radio loves tempo. They love positive lyric, if you can get it, which is all the opposite of what a real songwriter wants to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The sad murder ballad's what you really want to write. 3 minutes is generally the time.
Okay.
that a radio, if you write a 7-minute song, it's not going to get played on the
not
radio.
on the radio.
No, because it's about turnover and ad space and all sorts of. But then also on the artistic side, it's to write instead of making words that are cool and putting them together, find the emotion first and then try to feed that emotion with the lyric, whatever the emotion is.
That seems like a really challenging thing to optimize.
It is.
Like you've got these sort of structural constraints, and then, but it has to really get to the emotion in the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's tough to do. And,
I guess it's like a haiku, right? Like
Yeah,
you got
exactly.
Syllable constraints, and you got to get something real
Exactly.
in there, but on a different scale.
Yeah. And there really are no constraints, but if you want to make it as a commercial writer, there are. If that makes sense.
Yeah, there's got to be a little bit of like not plug and play, but like you said, like it's got to fit a certain slot on the radio and be able to work around advertising and all those other kind of structures of how music is delivered to ears.
Yeah.
And how were you? I mean, at that point, were you like, okay, this is cool. I kind of digging these rules, or is it like, wow, this is kind of a pain in the ass, or like how are you kind of interpreting that as you're learning from Costas? And
I was soaking up everything I could.
Sure.
So I wasn't really I mean, when you have an opportunity to sit down with somebody like that who had the track record as a writer that he had, it was a just soak it up, listen, write it down, remember kind of thing.
Well, and then at one point you said to me before we started recording, like there was it took you a while to figure out that you could actually make a living as a songwriter, not as a performer necessarily.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Which leads us back into this crazy story, because I guess as a musician, you think, the goal is Garth Brooks, or the goal is, the biggest star in the world.
Sure.
That's what you think in your brain. So I go down and meet Costas in Nashville after we've known each other a couple months, 6 months probably. And he introduces me to his song plugger at his publishing company at the time. And we play 2 songs, acoustic guitar, Costas songs, in his office. And I think Costas thought this guy had set up some appointments, but he'd never met me, so he hadn't done anything.
Okay.
Which makes total sense now that I've been in Nashville for 15 years. But he heard me play live, and he said, well, you have some time this afternoon. You want to maybe go over? I've got a friend at RCA Records. And I said, well, yeah, let's do that. That sounds cool, man. Why not? And I kind of know what's the size of the opportunity, but not really, because it's like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
So we go over to RCA Records and play the same 2 songs live. And
who's in the room? Like, what's the setup here?
So there's A&R people that sign talent.
Yeah, what's A&R?
To
Tell us what A&R stands
artists
for.
and repertoire is what they do. So
Okay.
they sign new artists. Once they sign new artists, they try to develop artists and find them songs, or help them find the writers to help them write the songs that are going to break them through to the masses. So that's sort of their job.
So they're trying to matchmake a little bit.
Correct.
This person's got performance talent, musical ability, writing ability, trying to sort of fuse it all together
Yeah,
to
exactly.
make a product.
Look for a total package in a way, and build what they don't have in certain areas. So long story short, in the course of about 48 hours, I had 2 record deal offers.
Okay.
So RCA
for yourself
offered,
to write and record.
Correct. From Mercury Records at the time and RCA Records. So I had to find a lawyer. I came back to Missoula, had to find a lawyer and figure out which one we were going with, negotiate that whole process, and ended up with a record deal with RCA Records.
And so what does that mean? Is it kind of like a book advance?
It is kind of like that. So they sign you. It's a long, probably 40-page contract, and it's for 6 records.
Wow. Okay, so they're locking you up.
They're locking
time.
you up, absolutely.
And now you're probably a little on the cheap because it's your first deal, right? So
and that's exactly how it works.
Okay.
And you
it's
learn
like a rookie contract in baseball, right? I get it.
Exactly, but if you blow up quick,
you
can renegotiate. You have the power.
Okay.
It's who's got the power.
Okay.
Is what matters.
Yeah.
So I signed that record deal, moved down to Nashville, and it's a miserable experience.
Okay.
It's very like you see behind the curtain and you see the wizard and you see how the whole thing works and how manufactured some things are, not all things.
Okay.
But this was it was a tough experience and it didn't go well. And so here's this incredible high of signing this record deal and all this thing. Yeah. And then I go on a radio tour with a first single that is across the entire country, walking into a radio station with a program director. You're trying to get him to add your song. He doesn't want you there. He doesn't really care about your song or how far you've traveled. He may add it, he may not. We found mostly they did not. So it was a very tough experience and on the road for months and not making any headway.
And you, at what stage in the process have you recorded the whole record, or just that one song, or like what's the process?
I had recorded probably 15 songs
Okay.
With a producer named Byron Gallimore that still does Tim McGraw, had done Sugarland, a bunch of
Top
Faith
people.
Hill. Yep, yes, big acts, and I was really proud of the music we made, but it just didn't grab traction, and so then RCA decided let's try some other stuff with another producer. Maybe you need to cut this song we found for you, and then in my brain I'm calculating if this song blows up, the song that I don't really like that they're telling me to cut, I'm gonna have to sing it for the rest of my life on a stage. And is that worth it? Mm-hmm. I don't think so.
Okay.
So we
That's gonna
parted
take
ways.
some courage to kind of
I kind of knew.
through.
I'll tell you another thing too, which was a pivotal moment. Is I walked into the Nashville airport to fly out on radio tour, and there was a 20 by 20 of my face hanging in the airport. And a lot of people on this journey would walk in and see that and go, "Man, that is kick ass."
Yeah.
And it turned my stomach.
Really?
I went, "Oh no!" And that's when I knew. I think that was the second I knew. I don't think this is for me. Part of it.
But you enjoy performing. At least it seems
do.
like you do, from what I've seen.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But I think it's an issue with fame. Fame can be a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
And I got a little tiny glimpse into what it could be, and I don't think I like it. I think you would be surprised at how many major recording artists are uncomfortable with fame.
Well, I mean, you hear that, right?
Yeah,
Like the musicians.
I know a few that I won't mention, but it's a bittersweet thing.
Well, how do you sort of fuse, like, people enjoy performing, people enjoy creating music, and there's all sorts of dimensions to it, and it probably, there's that select few that are good at all of it and enjoy all of it.
Yeah.
So at this point, at what point are you thinking, okay, writing songs is where I want to be?
Well,
we're skipping some steps in the story here.
Absolutely. I'll tie it back. I'll tie it back in though. So when I'm on RCA Records and we're trying to find the songs to record for the project, I am thrown in with literally all of the best writers in Nashville. So your currency as a new artist is they want to be on your record as a writer. So they're writing with you, and I am learning at lightning speed how to write commercial songs for country radio with the best in the business.
Got it. So at this point, RCA's got you as the recording artist, but you're writing some of the songs, and you're also writing in conjunction with these other writers that want a piece of your success.
Exactly.
And so you're sort of experiencing the writing, but also these collaborative dynamics of how it all works, which I'd love to get into.
Exactly. Too. Yeah, exactly. And in all the different forms that it comes.
And how do you feel about, like you said, when you first started out, I mean, you're covering songs and you don't really realize that people write songs for other musicians. Like, is that part of the seeing behind the curtain? Like,
but that was the best part of seeing behind the curtain was seeing all this. In Nashville, the Nashville writing community is really like a big high school. Yeah. Everybody kind of knows everybody.
In a good way or bad?
In a good way. No, really in a good way. Well, in some bad ways.
Sure.
Yeah. But mostly in a good way, and it's a very supportive system once you kind of crack into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a cool community for sure.
So you're still, you're sort of having these doubts about whether this record's going to go and what your role in this you want it to be? So how are you kind of resolving this situation at this moment?
Well, it was a mutual kind of split from RCA Records, and from there it was kind of like, well, what do I do next? The goal switched from being the massive recording artist to how do I make a living and keep a roof over my head doing music.
Wow.
Which I love.
Yeah.
So that became the goal, and luckily I had a very supportive wife, which
that helps.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And so I took a kind of a year to kind of figure it out, and ended up with a publishing deal with Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And went through that for 2 years, and that's the same thing like we talk about. They for a portion of your publishing rights, they pay you a draw.
Okay.
Which, not to get too far into the business side, but you have to pay that back before you make income off of your royalties. So they're basically loaning you money.
Okay. So it's floating you some cash to do the work.
Right.
And then you do that work, and you sort of have to earn, the work has to earn back that advance in a way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it earns back the advance by a musician recording it.
Right, exactly.
And then how successful that recording is determines the rate at which you're able to pay it back.
Exactly.
Right?
And every time it spins on a radio, there's a
little residual.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's the goal. So no major cuts out of the Warner deal that I'm on.
And how does that work? Like, you're writing into a songbook of some kind, and then is somebody else shopping those songs to other musicians?
Yes.
Or how are you connecting to the musicians
Yep.
themselves?
There are people that you work with when you sign a publishing deal called song pluggers that they run your calendar. They help you decide who you write with, what opportunities you're going to do, and try to get you on with artists, to write with artists, and all sorts of but calendar is a big part of what they do.
Okay.
Yeah. And looking for the best opportunity for your day.
Is this a unique structure in country music, or is it throughout all different types of music?
You know, I've been out to LA a couple of times to write, and it's definitely different. Nashville is they've been doing it long enough. It's very structured. LA is less structured. It's kind of like a text of, "Hey man, what are you doing today?"
Sure.
Yeah. Are you feeling like doing anything? But Nashville's very like, it's not a 9 to 5. It's more like an 11 to 3:30.
A New Angle is brought to you by First Security Bank and Blackfoot, two cool companies doing awesome things all over Montana.
Hey, this is Jeff Petticord, and you're listening to A New Angle.
That's not
But
so
it is.
bad.
But I treat it like that. I show up every day and try to write the best thing I can, and that's worked pretty well so far.
Yeah.
So the end of the Warner deal, nothing big has happened. There's a balance with Warner Publishing.
Yeah, so you're on the hook.
But you're not.
Okay.
So you don't have to pay that back if nothing happens. It's their gamble.
Okay. That you just don't.
Now it's their tax.
You just
write-off.
don't earn over and above the advance.
Correct.
Until you get back to it.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's a gamble on both sides.
Sure. That makes sense.
So then.
But they own those songs when the
correct.
deal's over,
Yeah,
right?
they own the
Like,
catalog.
You've written them, but they're not yours anymore.
Well, you'll never own less than half. There's what's called the writer's share.
I see.
So if you look at it as a pie, the writer's share is 50%. The publishing share is 50%. They can only take up to half of that.
Sure.
So if something big would have been cut out of that catalog, a big song, I would have still made half
So they don't
of the
own
royalty.
all of it.
Correct.
Okay. That
Correct.
makes sense.
So then I'm on my own again as a publisher, self-published, and through a crazy set of circumstances, end up with a cut with the Zac Brown band called Sweet Annie.
Right. Which is this huge break.
Huge break, enormous break. And
this is like peak Zac Brown band.
yeah,
time.
he's as hot as you can get, and the songs are called singles on a record. So the record comes out, and in especially in country radio, there's the first single, which is whatever it is, the second single, and usually it doesn't go past 4 singles per record.
Mm-hmm.
We were the 5th single, so it almost didn't happen.
Wow.
And then we were kind of a ballady song, kind of.
Yeah.
And the goal is to get to number 1, and it was a long, slow crawl, but we got there. So that song went number 1.
He picks up Sweet Annie and decides to put that on the record.
Yeah.
did he kind of come in for some writing at the end to share the credit? Like, how's that
and
work,
it was done.
right?
It was done over voicemail, and so
Sure.
not in the same room. But yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
So there's that process of getting on the record, which is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But then the sort of, oh my gosh, this could go as the 5th single.
Right, and that's even your eyes get bigger.
Yeah.
Like holy smokes. this
Yeah, I
could
mean, we don't
happen.
need to get into the specifics here, but like this is a life-changing event
Absolutely.
as far as
Absolutely.
making not only the money from that one song, but also it's got to have these sort of compounding effects where it opens up all these other opportunities.
And that's it. That's my joke in Nashville is you're never a good writer in Nashville until one person says you are.
But that's all it takes, right?
It's all it's kind of ridiculous because I know writers, and I've seen writers out at writers' nights in Nashville that are so incredible, but they just don't have that one champion, and that one opportunity hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really kind of arbitrary how it does happen sometimes.
right.
It is. There's some luck involved.
Well, you had that luck.
Yeah.
Well, and we can define luck in different ways. But anyway, yeah, that opened up some big doors, right? And you've
Absolutely.
been on a big run since then.
It's been really good. I spent a couple of years at Sony Publishing and have a...
So this, sorry to interrupt, but the Zac Brown deal comes at a time when you're independent. And
so
then now from that, you leverage that into another deal with Sony?
Correct. Leveraged that into a deal with Sony. Spent 4 years at Sony. Had some, I think, 7 major label cuts out of that deal, which is killer. And Terry Wakefield is my song plugger guy who's been instrumental in what I do. He actually made a move to Universal Publishing. They're all under contract too.
Okay.
And I ended up switching to go with him because our partnership has worked so well and my contract was up, so it all kind of worked out perfectly to move over to Universal where I just started. But yeah, things have been really good. Really good.
And so let's can we shift gears a little bit into just kind of the creative process?
Yes. Yeah.
Because you're talking, you made the comment about, hey, I got to see how the sausage was made, and it wasn't as pretty as I was hoping, and yeah, we've talked about some of the industry dynamics, but like within all that, how do you kind of find the space and mind frame to do the art?
Yeah, absolutely, and it is art. I do see it that way, but I also see it. I think the best advice I ever got was guitar in one hand, briefcase in the other.
Interesting.
It's both.
Yeah.
It is both, especially in that game in that town. It is both, and it's relationship based, big time. But art wise, it's like a constant antenna that's up. Whether I'm in a conversation at a coffee shop or I'm watching a dumb movie on Netflix, my antenna is up for one saying or even reading a book, one thing that pops out. And then also it's like working out, showing up every day and working that muscle of how to do a rhyme scheme that sounds good, that comes out of the mouth good, that sings good. It's all those things put together. And then some days I just sit and play guitar grooves and see what falls out and if something feels right. And so I never start at the same point in a song when a song starts. So I'll just walk you through a quick day.
Yeah, let's do it.
I look at a calendar. I see I'm riding with 2 people tomorrow. One of them is an artist. One of them is another writer like me.
And that's set up in advance. Somebody's kind of running your calendar.
My guy at Universal is setting these days up months out.
Okay.
So he sets his day up. I usually come in with 1 or 2 full choruses developed, and something I've worked on and prepped, and I bring it in, and that can either be what we use, or somebody goes, I like that, but what if we hit it from this angle or something? So it's you have to be pliable in what you do and light on your feet.
Yeah.
And I've said it for years in the room when somebody, if you throw out a line and it's quiet in the room, it's like, that's the Nashville no. That sucks, man, which is fine. But don't be afraid to say the thing that sucks, because somebody could go, well, that one word, what if we use that thought and moved it into this? So it's don't have any. I've said I've been in Nashville too long. I don't have any feelings left, and I think it's a great place to be, really, to not carry all your own emotional baggage into it.
I suppose so. There has to be this kind of. I'm thinking of the Kurt Vonnegut quote, like "Kill your darlings."
Right. Yeah.
And so there has to be some of that humility, but also. I would assume when you write a song, you're trying to say something.
Absolutely.
So how do you sort of stay true to, hey, this is what I'm trying to say here?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and there's different subject matters. There's love. Like I said earlier, find the emotion, chase the emotion.
Yeah.
Sometimes the emotion is drinking beer on a Friday night and getting drunk.
That happens.
Some people want that emotion. And the other one is, breakup, loss, whatever the thing is. Find that emotion and write it. And it's not, knowing that the positive emotion will possibly make you more opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's the game.
Yeah, so walk us through a little bit more of that, one of those sessions, right?
Yeah.
You come in, you got a couple things that you sort of have ready to share, but also that pliability and, how's the magic happen in those sessions?
And really a lot of it's based around reading people and reading the artist and being a quick read on if somebody likes something or not, or if they're too quiet to say, I don't like this, and learning. I would say the biggest lesson I've learned in writing is learning what not to write. And being okay with walking out of that room without a song if it's just feeling like garbage.
Not the right fit.
That happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Is this a setup that led to Sweet Annie and Buy That Man a Beer and like all these sorts of hits that you've had?
Same kind of thing. But it's all different. Some start with a title, some start with a groove, some start with a line somewhere that ends up in a verse. Yeah. It's pretty fun.
And you're trying to read the recording artist in the room, right? I would imagine.
Or the John Pardi one is 3 writers and 2 really good friends of mine.
Okay.
Another Montana boy, Justin Lance. But yeah, we're just in a room, and those are really fun too, because kind of the pressure's off, and it's like, let's just have fun and write something we like, something we'd want to hear on a jukebox. And that was what that day was. And then that song got pitched by a song plugger to the producer of John Pardi, and then that producer plays it for John Pardi. John Pardi likes it, and they end up cutting it. It sounds so easy when I say it in that sentence.
Sure.
But it's like 2 years in the making.
2 years?
Yeah. So they cut the song. It takes a year for the record to come out.
Yeah.
And then it might possibly single. You never know. So it's a long process.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of delayed gratification there.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And you've moved on. I mean, you're still cranking out other stuff, and you've kind of moved on your focus. And yeah. So how did the one of your songs recently, Reba McEntire performed at the Country Music Awards, right?
She did.
Not only is that in and of itself a huge deal, but how did that kind of song come to be, that partnership with Reba, and then her decision to play it at the music awards? Like, how did that all happen?
That was one of the crazier. Well, they're all crazy, but that one was crazy. So we didn't even really know she had cut the song, and I just got a email request from my Sony person, Terry Wakefield, that hey, they just put in for a request for a license for live television on this song. I'm pretty sure she's cut it.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know. He's like, I think she might be playing this at the awards. So it was like 2 days before. I had no idea.
Really?
Yeah. 2 days before, but that song had been pitched to her by a song plugger.
Okay.
To her label. Her label took it to her. And what a cool thing to have a legend like Reba McEntire.
Oh my gosh.
Sing your song. It's pretty cool. And they did a good cut.
And were you there? Were you able to go?
No, I didn't go. I almost pulled the trigger and shot out there, but I didn't go. I watched it at home with a glass of tequila.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Something to celebrate.
Exactly. No, that was a pretty cool moment.
So during your time here, you did the event the other night, but also had the chance to speak with some of our students.
Yeah.
And so a couple different contexts. We have, an entertainment management program here at the College of Business where a lot of students are trying to get into the industry in a variety of different capacities. But we also have a music program here. We talked about that earlier, and you met with some of those students.
Yeah.
kind of what was that experience like, coming, talking to students and giving some advice on how young, hungry folks can break into the business?
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool experience, and something I wish there's more of. And you know education better than I do, but the real life stories and of the people that were that played at the show, all the stories are way different.
Yeah,
how everybody figured out how to put a roof over their heads, and I think it's really cool. And I was actually inspired by the other writers to gig more, play live more, because I really don't. 2 or 3 times a year is all I really do. But definitely that helped me. But being in the classes and just talking about real world experience and seeing fire and energy from students and remembering being in that place and to know that it is possible to make it happen.
Yeah, and that's powerful for students to sort of see, want to hear your stories, but also connect with somebody who's made this happen.
Yeah.
At the same time, for a student to sort of see, wow, there's no single path. You know, a lot of students students really like structure and clarity and all those things. They want to know, like, okay, I got to do X, Y, and Z to get to this place. So if I'm a student trying to extract from these disparate messages of stories of success, are there general principles that you would convey to a student, like, hey, here are the sort of general attributes and outlook you have to position yourself for success?
Absolutely. Grind is the biggest one.
Yep. Okay.
Grind, and don't say no. Say yes to any opportunity, big or small, that comes your way, because you never know.
You never know when you're going to be at Costas's house.
Exactly.
Right?
What relationship's going to turn into what? And relationships, another big one. And that's where I think kindness as a baseline is a good thing to go forward with.
Yeah.
And you never know where it's going to turn, and what little door or crack in a window is going to open that you can seep through and find opportunity.
How do you cultivate that energy to grind?
Man,
some have it more than others.
Right.
But like
right.
It's got to be something that you develop too.
We got to figure out a gym workout for grind, don't we?
Yeah, your brother could probably come up with one.
I think he could. No, I think it's a you got to want it.
Yeah.
You got to really, really, really want it more than the person sitting next to you.
Well, like most things in life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so let's flip that advice on the other side. Like, you got to have the grind, you got to want it.
Yeah.
But you also have to, you had kind of the clarity of self and some of the business sense to not get taken advantage of, to not get ripped off, to put yourself in a position to do the kind of work you wanted to do and derive a solid living from that. How should students sort of view that reality too? Like, not get chewed up by the system.
Right. Yeah. Definitely a good lawyer is worth your money.
Okay.
Definitely, especially in entertainment. And read. That sounds so lame, but read everything. Even if it's
lame.
Boring you to death.
Or we're in this age where, like, we got these terms and conditions from every damn app
it's everywhere.
on our phone, and we just scroll right through it. But read the stuff.
Read your contract. Read your contract. I'm trying to think of what else I can come up with. That's all I got.
That's all you got?
Read your contract.
Yeah. Talking about advice for students and, how do you set yourself up for success? How do you not get ripped off by the end or churned up by it?
Right.
All I'm thinking about is, like, I watched the series Nashville, and it seems like a lot of musicians with talent and writers with passion get chewed up.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't have the grind to work through that, but they also, it seems like they're just not able to. And you described it too before, that there's plenty of folks out there that, you see them out and they write brilliantly, but they haven't had that one person in the right seat say,
right.
I like what you do.
I guess one big observation I've had from Nashville, and I forget who the writer was that said it, but there's a quote that I'll get wrong, but I'll just say it this way, is the music business, you're lucky to be a part of, and nobody sent for you. So to walk into Nashville and expect things to happen is the wrong way to walk in to that town, especially.
Yeah.
There are thousands of people waiting in line behind you for the spot you may have, whatever spot that is.
Right.
And it never ends. So I guess gratitude is a big thing for me. And because of the people that help me, helping the person that's underneath you looking up is a big one for me. Big one.
So what are you working on now? What's next?
Man, we're doing lots of cool stuff. So I'm sort of superstitious about talking about what's coming out next because I've had some heartbreak on talking about some big things that, and even songs that have been cut that I've heard.
Okay, we'll keep it a secret.
Major, yeah, right. With major artists that don't end up coming up out on records. But for me, it's really just writing hard, writing the best song I can every day, and showing up and getting it done.
There's probably a wide range here, but how fast can you write a song? Like, I'm sure it could happen. It could take years or it could take seconds.
Yep.
Right.
That's a good question because sometimes it's literally 20 minutes.
Really?
And sometimes it's 5 sessions, so 5 different days of just trying to figure out how to make it better. And they're never really done. They're never really done until they're on a radio. Okay. Because you can go back and edit and rechange. And so we'll demo a song and we'll go back and have somebody else sing it because maybe it sounds more like this artist or whatever the thing. So it's never really done until it's done. Until it's on, hopefully on a radio. But it's all different time lengths.
So can we talk into playing a song?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. So I'd love to kind of hear, you choose what you want to play, but I'd love to kind of hear you talk about like the circumstances under which the song came to life.
Yeah.
A little intro and some process information.
Yeah, I like that. Now I got to decide what to play.
Yeah. Something they're all meaningful to you, I suppose, but
yeah.
Do you ever have one that you kind of like, man, I'd really like to keep that one?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if somebody else sings it like a Zac Brown, it's super meaningful too. So yeah, it cuts
super
both ways.
meaningful at the mailbox is what it is.
Yeah.
I played this one the other night. But
yeah. I love that story about your buddy. We're like,
that's the one I'm doing.
Oh yeah, well, you got to tell that story.
I totally will.
I gotta get off this phone call. It's funny, when I was in grad school, kind of working on my dissertation and whatnot, I got to the point where I was carrying a voice recorder with me.
Yeah.
Because like some idea would pop into my head, and I'm like, if I can't remember this an hour from now when I get back to my desk, but I gotta just like blurt it out here and capture it.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Yeah, probably
all the time. And thank goodness this one's a little waterproof because it's always the shower where the idea hits me.
Oh yeah.
So I keep it within reach.
Why not?
It happens. Well, I'll tell a quick story here. I was on the phone with a fishing buddy, and he was going through some loss and some turmoil in his life, and as guys, we were trying to keep the conversation as tough as we could with also getting some emotion through.
That's tough.
Yeah, and so he was talking about it and kind of processing through it with me, and said at one point in the conversation, said, "Man, it's like I'm just sitting at a stoplight and the light won't change." And I said, I do remember saying, "Man, I'm so sorry to hear that, but I'm gonna have to call you back because that's a hell of a song idea." And I went and started writing that chorus immediately after.
Right then and there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But this is called "Waiting for the Light to Change." It's uncut, but one of my favorite songs.
Okay, uncut meaning it hasn't been recorded yet.
Has not been recorded, and it's probably 6 years old.
Well, we're recording it now.
Yeah, dang right. It's dark out tonight, and I'm down to one headlight. There's not a soul in sight, and I'm just sitting here. It's all moving slow. I don't want to go, but you've taken your toll on me, and I'm going nowhere, nowhere fast. I don't know where I'm going, just know that I can't stay, so I'm waiting for a sign to lead me on my way. But all I see is red there, shining through the rain, and I'm still waiting for the light to change. My rear view sure looks like you, and if I don't get moving soon, I'll just turn around, 'cause I've been here before, with my heart upon your floor, and I can't love you anymore. It's killing me. And I'm all out of tears, and I'll be tearing out of here fast. I don't know where I'm going, I just know that I can't stay, so I'm waiting for a sign to lead me on my way. But all I see is red there, shining through the rain, and I'm still waiting for the light to change. I don't know where I'm going, I just know that I can't stay, so I'm waiting for a sign to lead me on my way. And all I see is red there, shining through the rain, and I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the light to change.
Pretty awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. Well, now it's recorded.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
There we go.
Official debut.
Dozens and dozens of listens you will get from that.
I love it.
That's super fun.
Yeah, man.
Day in the life.
Day in the life, right there. It's fun to do.
Well, any parting words of wisdom? I'm standing between you and maybe a trip out into the woods with your brother to go hunting.
Right, yeah,
So
possibly.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but it's been awesome, John, having you in studio, and more awesome that you came back to the University of Montana to share some of your experience and wisdom with our students.
Absolutely.
And, they're definitely inspired.
One of my favorite pieces of wisdom that I'll leave you with
that
was handed down to me was humble in the highs, hopeful in the lows. And I don't think there's much more you need.
That's a great way to end it, John. Thank you.
And grind.
And grind. Yeah, gotta grind.
Thanks, Justin.
See ya. All right, that was super fun. Great thanks to John for sharing his time, his wisdom, and his music. And be on the lookout for more events produced by our entertainment management program. Those students do great work. Okay, coming up next week, we have number 3 in the Bryce Ward series. And as promised, we'll announce the name of that series. Stay tuned for that and much more next week. Thanks for listening to A New Angle. We really appreciate it. And we're coming to you from Studio 49, a gift from University of Montana alums Michelle and Lauren Hansen. And remember that A New Angle is supported by CED, Consolidated Electrical Distributors. These guys pretty much sell anything electrical you would ever need, but they also hire a ton of our students. If you want to learn more about jobs at CED, visit cedcareers.com. Before we go, I want to thank some important peeps, executive producer Stefan Borsum, and interns Aspen Runkle and Max Gibson. Huge thanks to VTO, Jeff Ament, and John Wicks for the tunes, and finally, props to Jeff Meese, our master of all things sound. Finally, if you have any questions, suggestions, comments, insults, whatever, please email me at anewangle@umontana.edu. Help us spread the word, and be sure to use the hashtag #anewangle when you do. Thanks a lot, and see you next time.